You can hit me up any day, any year, ever. I am available. Hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma, aka Midsummerknits, and today's video is going to be, as you've seen from the title, a podcast episode. I really enjoy doing podcast episodes because I just get to sit here and talk to you about my knitting, which is basically what I created this channel to do. So it's always super fun for me to just sit here and give you guys a little rant on what I've been knitting lately. Holiday edition with this little cute tree in the background. It looks a little sad because I haven't decorated it with any ornaments, and truthfully I'm going home for the holidays really soon, so I'm probably not going to, but I figured I'd put it in the background of at least one of my videos and have it be like a cute little holiday theme. I wanted to start off this video by talking about what I perceive to be the elephant in the room, which is that if you follow me on YouTube and or Instagram, I have not been posting a whole lot in the past couple of months. And there's a couple of reasons for this. The first thing is that I've just been going through a lot of life changes this year, and I feel like I'm still trying to figure out exactly where I want knitting to fit into all of that. If you've really been following along my channel, you'll know that I've moved a few times in the past year, with the most recent one being the fact that I moved back to San Francisco, and that was a pretty big move for me. I also live alone now, which has been a pretty big change for me, and because of that, I have started going into the office more often. I'm a software engineer and my job gives me the flexibility to either go into the office or work from home, and I previously opted to work from home for the most part, but mainly because I now live alone and because I also felt like I wasn't the most productive while working from home, I decided to start going into the office more often, which has been actually a really good change for me. I feel like it's been really good for me to get more social interaction, and it's also made me a lot more productive in terms of my work. So I've really been enjoying that, but it has taken a little bit of time out in terms of my knitting time slash fiber arts, filming, social media time. And I feel like that has made it a little bit less sustainable for me in terms of having time to knit as well as having time to post videos. I feel like I've also just been in a little bit of a slump or burnout stage when it comes to knitting and posting videos. Even with knitting itself, I feel like I've made knitting into too much of like a job for myself, and I feel like I have been trying to force myself to knit a certain amount of time, and it has just caused me to lose a bit of motivation when it comes to knitting and making social media content for you guys and stuff like that. So I'm trying to kind of restructure my thoughts and my outlook on knitting as well as social media when it comes to the new year, with the first change being that I'm not going to be posting on YouTube every single week. Let's be honest, I did not post on YouTube every single week this year anyways, but I think that I was doing a decently good job of it at certain times during the year when I wasn't like on vacation or anything. The truth is that I don't think I have enough hours in the week to post a new YouTube video every single week if I want to also have time to knit the amount that I want to knit and enjoy my life. So I think I'm going to not really commit to a specific schedule, but I will try and do a new YouTube video every other week as opposed to every week. Truthfully, I feel like YouTube just ended up taking up so much time in this past year that I felt like I didn't have enough time to actually knit, which is obviously what my channel is about and what I want it to continue to be about. So I want to give myself back a little bit of time and just be posting a YouTube video every other week-ish. Another change that I want to make is I just don't want to take knitting so seriously to the point where it's not fun for me anymore. I definitely have really enjoyed taking knitting more seriously, which is what I've been doing in the past year and a half. It's been so much fun to put out a lot of projects and be working on my own designs and posting content regularly for you guys, but I feel like I just don't want to see it as so much of a responsibility to the point that I'm getting stressed when I'm not finishing certain things, and I feel like that's where I've gotten to with knitting in the past year. So I think I just want to sit back a little bit when it comes to knitting and not be so stressed and so strict with myself about finishing certain things, putting out certain things at certain times, etc. And that's that. I hope you guys understand why I'm making these changes. Truthfully, I would love to have more free hours in the day so that I could knit more, make more content, edit more content. I love all of those things. Those are all like my favorite things to do. And I would love to have more hours in the day to the point where I could do all of that on top of doing my job and hanging out with friends and all the other things that I'm trying to do. But I just feel like I'm not there at this point in my life, and I need to do what I need to do to make things more sustainable for me. So this is what I'm gonna be doing in the near future. Anyways, that was a very long spiel. So without further ado, let's get into more of the knitting podcast content. So first of all, some little updates on my knitting. Like I mentioned, I haven't been knitting all that much in the past couple of months, so I don't have a ton of huge updates to share with you guys, but I do feel like I've made some progress since my last podcast episode, so I will share that with you guys. First off, I have posted another full video on this sweater already, and I feel like I've talked about this sweater on my channel a ridiculous amount. However, my Moby sweater is officially done. Hilariously, I think I might have talked about this as an FO in a previous podcast episode already, because I feel like I've just gone through a lot of strife when it comes to the sweater, and I had the sweater like 99% finished, but I decided that I wasn't really going to get too much wear out of the sweater the way that it was. It was kind of just like an awkward fit on me. I feel like it came out a lot more fitted than I had initially planned for, and because of that, I had made the sweater a little bit longer, thinking it'd be a bit oversized, but then it just felt like awkwardly fitted and long on me. So I made the executive decision that I wanted to crop the sweater and just lean into it being a more fitted and cropped sweater. So I have a whole video on my channel of me doing that. However, I'm really happy to say that the sweater is finally officially done, and I've worn it multiple times since I finished it. I think I finished it like a few weeks ago and I've already worn it like 3 times out, and I love how it came out so much. I'm really actually kind of shocked with how much I like it. I feel like with a lot of my knitted objects, I really love how they come out, but I won't wear them out as often as I would wear out like a store-bought piece, which is kind of interesting. I would love to change that in the next year or so, maybe in terms of like what fibers I choose to knit with or exactly what I'm making. But with this sweater, I've already gotten a lot of wear out of it, and I'm really, really happy with how it came out. And I would also highly recommend this pattern. I really think that I've talked about this to death on my channel, so if you've already seen me talk about the Moby sweater a lot, I apologize. But I love the pattern. I think it is a really gorgeous pattern, and I enjoyed making it, so I would recommend it. I will say, like I mentioned for myself, I thought it'd be more oversized than it came out, which is kind of funny. I did do a gauge swatch, so maybe I was just kind of underestimating the amount of positive ease that I would want for it to be a bit more oversized on me. But it is what it is. I'm not unhappy with how it came out, but I'm hoping that this year I can finally make myself a proper, actually oversized sweater. In terms of works in progress, I have a couple of updates for you guys as well. Nothing super huge again. Like I mentioned, I have not been knitting as much as usual, but I'm gonna start with the most exciting one, which is I am getting close to being done with my second Heartless top. So the top of this top is a little bit of a hot mess because I haven't done any of the finishing details yet, which really, really bring the design together. Adding the I-cord edging as well as the edgings on the neckline and on the armholes, I think really brings the top together and makes it look so much more polished and so much better. So I apologize that it's in a little bit of a wacky state right now, but I did finish the body, as you can see. I actually just picked this up basically in the past week or so and finished most of the body. I'll be honest, like I mentioned, I was in such a knitting slump, and even though I had this on the needles for so long, I had just not been working on it too much. So finally in the past week or so, I got back into it again and have done most of the knitting in terms of finishing this project. The thing with this one is that I do want to film a couple of tutorials on the finishing techniques for this top. So that's why I'm kind of in this like weird unfinished state right now, is that I'm gonna have to wait until there is enough time for me to do these finishing techniques and film videos of them in probably a day or two. So I just haven't quite gotten to that yet, but I'm hoping that I will in the next couple of weeks, maybe when I'm home for Christmas, so we'll see. By the way, for anyone who has been asking about the Heartless top pattern, like I mentioned, I feel like I've just been putting too much pressure on myself in terms of knitting, and part of that has been putting out patterns. I feel like a total failure because I have not put out any patterns this year, even though I've had like 2 designs that I've been semi-working on the patterns for the past several months. And the truth is, I feel like writing patterns is really hard. I've basically gotten the patterns for both the Heartless top and the Groovy Tank written up for my size, but I'm trying to work with tech editors to get both of those graded. And part of me, I feel like, is just really scared of putting out a pattern that is not good, which is why I feel like it's been taking so long. I feel like I want it to be perfect. So I am still working on them. I actually think that I'm going to focus more on the Heartless top for now because it is a little bit of a simpler pattern, and like putting out a garment design is kind of a scary thing. I've never done it before, and I want to make sure that I can write a pattern that is actually going to be able to fit other people. So I'm going to focus more on the Heartless top for now. My goal at this point in time is to get it out for Valentine's Day in February, but I need to make sure that I have enough time for test knitters to actually knit it, so we'll see if that happens. I feel like I've kind of dropped the ball when it comes to releasing designs this year for you guys, but I am gonna try my best to get some out next year. When it comes to other whips, I have a couple of other things that I have like in the pipeline, but nothing with a ton of progress. Again, like I mentioned, this knitting slump has been hitting me really hard. The first thing is that I have decided that I want to start knitting socks on a regular basis. I would really like to have a sock that I have in progress at all points in time. I feel like socks are just a really great project when it comes to commuting, which I do for about like an hour a day at this point. So I would really like to just have a kind of like on-the-go sock project that I can work on at every given point in time. With that in mind, I started on this pair of socks. It is the pomatomus sock pattern. I'll put a picture of it on the screen because it's a really cool design. And I've had this yarn for a super long time. I actually lost the label, so I don't know what yarn this is, but it is this really pretty hand-dyed blue yarn with all these different shades of blue. It's kind of giving like an ocean vibe to me. And I thought this yarn would be perfect for this design. I feel like the design itself is kind of giving like a oceany, mermaidy, fishy vibe. So I feel like it makes sense to knit these socks in blue. And I've seen a lot of other people knit these socks in blue as well. So I started on this, and I need to be honest, I am not liking how it's coming out. I think that this yarn that I chose is just a bit too stripy for such a complex design. And I wanted to continue on this design though, because it's been a really fun knit, even just these few rows that I've started on. So my potential solution to this was that I was thinking I could get some sort of like darker blue dye and dye this yarn so that it is still blue, but it is a bit less stripy. So I did buy some dye. I bought some Rit Royal Blue All-Purpose dye, and I just want to try out knitting a bit more of this sock and then trying to dye it using this dye and see how it comes out. I have no idea how it's gonna come out. I feel like there's a couple of options of how it could come out. I could hate it. It could look really dark and really bad. It could do literally nothing and I could just go back to the drawing board, or maybe there is some chance that it is like a good shade of blue and I like how it comes out. So my thought is that I'm going to knit a little bit more of the sock so that you can really see the design and see also how the stripes are kind of hindering the design, and then dye that amount of the sock that I've completed and see how it looks. And depending on how it looks, I could dye the rest of the yarn or I could go back to the drawing board. So that's where I'm at with that project. The truth is I just haven't been working on it too much because it's like in this in-between state where I don't really know where it's going to land, and it's never fun to be in that in-between state, especially when you're in a knitting slump. So I have not been working on that too much. I also have some other sock yarn that I dug up. It is just this mossy green color, and this is from Arcane Fiberworks. I'll put the name of the yarn on the screen because I don't remember what it's called, but I got this with the thought in mind that I would make some sort of like leafy sock design, whether it's my own design or someone else's design. I did ask on Instagram stories if anyone had recommendations for like leafy sock designs, and I got a couple of recommendations, but I'm not totally sold on any of them yet. So if you guys have any more recommendations, you can let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I do want to start on some socks with this one, but I don't have an exact plan in mind quite yet. Also, in recent fiber arts news, I just wanted to talk about this because I literally found out about this like an hour ago and I thought it was super, super cool. So if you guys have been following my channel or my Instagram for a bit, you'll know that I'm a really big Taylor Swift fan. It is a non-trivial part of my channel and my personality. I made an entire video of me making my Eras Tour costume, which was a super complex recreation of one of Taylor Swift's folklore dresses, and that is still like one of the coolest things that I think I've ever made. But with that being said, Taylor Swift, literally today, it is the 17th of December. So she's been going to her boyfriend Travis Kelce's football games a whole lot and wearing a lot of cool like Chiefs merch and stuff like that. And literally today she went to the Chiefs game and she's wearing a fan-made crocheted hat, which I think is so cool. Basically, the story of how she got this fan-made crocheted hat is that she placed an order from this vintage store in Kansas City. It is called West Side Story, and she placed an order for a bunch of vintage Chiefs merch because, like I mentioned, she's been wearing a lot of cool Chiefs merch to these games. And the fan who made this hat, their name is Cut the Knit on Instagram. I will put their @ on the screen somewhere. And the fan that made this hat works at that vintage store, and when they received the order from Taylor Swift, they made the hat and put it in their package to give to Taylor Swift. So I think this is just super cool. It is this really cool crocheted hat. It's white with a red stripe on it, and it says 87 on the hat as well. And just as a fan of Taylor Swift as well as a fiber artist, this is a huge deal to me and very, very cool to see. I believe the only other time that I can think of that I've seen Taylor with a fan's like hand knit or hand crocheted piece is when a fan made her a hand knit sweater with a Polaroid on it. I'll put a picture of that on the screen as well. But that was a long time ago. I think that was during like the 1989 era. So it's been a long time since she's ever interacted with like a fan who's a fiber artist wearing a piece that they made her. So it's super, super cool to see this. I will be honest, when I went to the Eras Tour movie premiere, which Taylor Nation invited me to, which by the way was so freaking cool, I actually did bring a hand knit scrunchie that I was trying to give to Taylor, but it was a little bit too hard to like give anything to her. So I did end up giving, I had a letter for her that I gave to Tree, her publicist, but I wasn't able to get the scrunchie to her. So anyways, I think this is super cool. If I could knit something small for Taylor Swift, I think I would knit her like a cabled hat or a pair of ruffled socks because I've seen her wear those before and I love ruffled socks myself. Who knows if that will ever happen, but Taylor or Taylor Nation, if you see this, this is me shooting my shot and saying that I would love to make something for Taylor. You can hit me up any day, any year, ever. I am available. The last segment that I like to include in my podcast is media that I've been consuming while I'm knitting. And I have a couple of updates for you guys. So first of all, I finished The Vampire Diaries, which is absolutely insane. Such a fun show. If you guys can't tell, I really love these kind of like supernatural shows that have a lot of seasons because last year I watched Supernatural and that was super fun. This year, in the past several months, I watched The Vampire Diaries and I enjoyed it. It was a fun watch. And I feel like there's actually been kind of like a Vampire Diaries renaissance going on because I've seen so much new content from all of the cast members like on TikTok lately. So that's been kind of fun. I feel like it's been a fun time for me to start watching it for the first time and I really enjoyed watching it. Up next, my friend who convinced me to watch The Vampire Diaries also convinced me to watch a different show, which is One Tree Hill. This is another early 2000s show. It is a teen drama, and it's starring Chad Michael Murray alongside a cast of other actors. And it's been a pretty fun watch so far. I'm only on season 2, so I've got a long way to go. But this is just me starting another very long TV series, which I always enjoy doing, so we're gonna enjoy this one into the new year, I'm very sure of it. Last up, I did want to give a little shout out to a fiber arts YouTuber in most of my podcast episodes. So there's a fiber artist YouTuber that I've recently discovered and she doesn't have a ton of videos. I think she only recently started YouTube. But with that being said, I'm really impressed with like the quality of her videos and all of the things that she's done in the past couple of videos that she's put up on YouTube for the first time ever. Her username is Nadia Studio. I will link to it down below. But I discovered her through her video. It's called, I think, like crocheting a blanket for my mental health. And in this video, she's crocheting this like daisy square blanket, which I have always seen these daisy squares and absolutely love them and wanted to make a project with them. Haven't gotten around to it yet, partially because I'm not a super huge crocheter, but I really loved watching her process of making it. And I thought it was super cool that she made this entire blanket over the course of this video. I think it's really impressive to make an entire blanket, much less film the entire process of it. So I really enjoyed it. I also just liked her vibe. I feel like she has a very like calming aura. So I had a lot of fun watching her video. I also think that watching other fiber artists is a really good way for me to stay inspired and kind of get out of these slumps that I get into when it comes to knitting. So I really enjoyed watching her video and I highly recommend checking out her channel. That is it for my podcast episode today. I have a feeling this one's going to be pretty long, so thank you guys so much for sticking around if you're still here. If you are still here, I would love it if you both subscribe to my channel and turned on post notifications. It's really helpful because you can get notified every time I post a video and it also lets the YouTube algorithm know that you like my content. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a happy holiday season and I'll see you next time. Bye!